Now, on a summary, I'm going to just play a short video to just summarize virtually everything about the Nigerian government, which has to do with from how it started, from the military rule back to where we are at the moment. So if you can still see my screen, you let me know. Can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can see it, ma'am.
So you can see the video now, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I hope it plays.
Democracy returned to Nigeria after the death of military dictator General Sani Abacha.
Yes,
A year
ma'am.
after, in 1999, General Abdusalam Abubakar terminated military rule and handed over power to the newly elected civilian president Olusegun Obasanjo. Currently, Nigeria operates as a federal republic with governing powers upheld by the Constitution. This political model was inspired ethnically diverse groups. Like the US, Nigeria is a federation, which means that the country is made up of individual self-governing states. The country is separated into a hierarchy of government: the federal, the state, and the local. The federal government is split into three branches. The executive branch of government is led by the president and the vice president. The president also appoints a cabinet of ministers to assist within a specialized field. For example, there's a minister of foreign affairs, finance, and agriculture. Together, their powers include the control of the armed forces, proposing bills, and representing the country internationally. The second branch of power is the legislature. In Nigeria, this is known as the National Assembly. The assembly is divided into two groups: the Senate, which consists of 3 elected senators per state, and the House of Representatives. The number of representatives a state has is dependent on its population. For example, Kano is a large state with 24 representatives, and Abia is a smaller state with 8 representatives. The members of the National Assembly pass laws and bills proposed by the executive branch. The Supreme Court of Nigeria is the highest of all courts in the country, and it forms the judicial branch of the federal government. The judges on the Supreme Court serve a lifetime rule and are appointed by the president. In Nigeria, each state has its own government. These form the next level of rule in the Nigerian political hierarchy. Similar to the federal government, each of the 36 states is subdivided into 3 branches: the executive, legislative, and judicial. The executive branch is headed by the state governor, whilst the single House of Representatives forms the legislature. Together, they create state laws. The state Supreme Court forms the judicial branch of the state government. Each justice is selected by the state assembly and serves for a select term. Nigeria is divided into 774 local government areas, commonly known as LGAs. These make up the lowest form of government. The purpose of the LGAs is to have an arm of government which is close to the public. The local government council consists of an executive branch, which includes a chairman, vice chairman, secretary, and supervisors. It also has a legislature comprised of elected councilors. The LGA Council takes responsibility for tasks like the collection of taxes and fees, economic recommendations to the state, and the construction and maintenance of roads, streets, and public places. The 2015 Nigerian election resulted in APC's Muhammad Buhari taking over from PDP's standing president Goodluck Jonathan. Elections take place every 4 years, and in February 2019, Nigerians will take to the ballot box once again.
Okay. Now, looking at that, that's like a summary of everything you need to know. As the only thing is, we are going to be going into more detail as to what you need to learn. That means explaining them in detail. But then everything about our government, everything about how we came from the military rule to becoming the political state and the democratic state, and how the powers and laws are actually being made in Nigeria. So now we are going to start with the concept of government. Please, if you have any question, you can stop me and ask. Do you understand? Salami?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, do you understand what you're watching in the video? Salami,
Yes, ma'am.
I said, do you understand what you watched in the video or you just enjoyed yourself?
I understand it, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, now on a summary, what can you tell me about the legislative? Yes, according to what you saw in the video, what can you tell me about the legislative arms of government?
Okay, ma'am.
I'm waiting. I don't like to talk alone when I'm teaching.
Okay, sorry, ma'am.
Uh-huh. What can you say about the legislative or the executive? Let me give you an option. The executive or the legislative, what can you say? Okay, don't worry. We'll get there. So I probably it didn't really stick in properly. So now we'll start with the basic concept of government. Now, when you hear the word government, what comes without you reading my notes? Yes, because you've done government before, at least this is not your first time. So what comes to mind when you hear the word government? When we say, oh, it's the government, what comes to mind?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, it's not a problem. But did you get my question?
I think the network is breaking.
Okay, I said, what comes to your mind when you hear the word government? What's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Okay, the people leading the country, ma'am.
That means leading, that is someone ruling, people ruling
Yes.
and leading. That's perfect. Now, when we're looking at the concept of government, we are looking at three things. I hope you have your notes on pen, even if it's going to be recorded, because we are going to be doing 1 day teaching and 1 day past question. So that means if we do teaching today, our next lesson is going to be past questions. Do you understand?
Yes.
So that we move, yes, so that we can move as fast as we can. Now, when you hear the word concept of government, we are looking at what does it entail when it comes to the word government. And in this area, we are looking at three basic things. And these things are government, the process of governing, government institution of a state, and also is a field of study. I said the first one is a process of governing. The second one is an institution of the state, while the third one is that it is a process which is a field of study. So you can see it from the notes that I'm sharing at the moment right now. So government as a process of governing, government as an institution of the state, and also government as a field of study. Of course, I don't think anybody asks you what is the meaning of government, but you understanding what the meaning of government is will be able to help you to transcend other information towards it. So when we say government, we talk about the group of people who control and make decisions for a country, which you said earlier. That means people leading others. You said that earlier, so you were very, very correct. And also, you could also say a particular system that is used for controlling a country. Now, every country has different system. United States of America, they don't have the same system of governance that we have. Other African countries don't have the same system. Is the noise coming from the place, Salami? Thank you. Then also, you could also say is a process or manner of controlling a country or a state. The first one is a group of people controlling and making decision. Another one is a particular system that is used to control. And then another one is a process that we use to control. Now, leaving all of the explanation behind, let's go to government as a process of governing. When we say government is a process of governing, it refers to how a particular state is being governed, how a particular country is, it's a process. So it's talking about how. So it also means the entire process, operations, and activity, what they do, how they do what they do, when do they do what they do. So in the course of governing a state, government is now divided into three organs and tiers. Because one person, of course, you know, the president cannot just sit down there, make the laws, protect the laws, enact the laws, give sanctions, and all of that. He can't do all of that. So that is why we have the other three organs, which we have the legislative, the judiciary, and the executive. We'll be getting to know their functions as we move on, because we'll be talking about arms of government separately. So now, under the process of governing, that is why, because the president can't do all of that, had to come up with three arms of government, which you have the legislature, the judiciary, and the executive arms of government. Now, let's quickly look also to government as an institution of the state. Now, it refers to the mechanism that guides the control and direction of a state. So these are the institutions, ministries, parastatals, agencies of a state, and they're responsible for the administration of the state. Now, of course, if you look at Nigeria, since our aim and our focus is Nigeria, so we are going to be talking about Nigeria a lot so that you can understand what we're talking about. You've heard about the senators, you've heard about the House of Assembly, and then you'll be hearing agency for food and food law, drug law enforcement. Yes, you'll be hearing about other agencies also, and then you'll be like, we have Ministry of Health, so why do we need drug law enforcement again when there's already Ministry of Health? Right now, again,
Yes.
you will see you have these parastatals. There's already a ministry working with this, working on this. Why do we need a parastatals? Why do we need agencies doing the same thing? Now, of course, they don't do the same thing. They all have their own roles. Now, these are all the things that constitute a government. Now, we've looked at government as the three arms, that is the three tiers. Now, we are looking at government as an institution of a state, whereby we have the institution, we have the ministries, we have the parastatals, and we have the agencies. Now, this institution of a state are broadly categorized into formal and informal institutions. So the formal institutions are also still grouped under the three tiers. Did you see how they are linking?
Yes.
Now, these institutions that we are talking about right now, they are also still grouped. Some are under formal, some are under informal, and they are all still being grouped under these three tiers that we talked about earlier, which is the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. Now, while the informal institution comprise of pressure groups, political parties, trade unions, and the likes. So we have the formal and we have the informal. So the formal are grouped under which parts? Can you mention the one that I mentioned under the formal? The legislature, the
The
executive,
judiciary, the
and the judiciary.
executive and judiciary.
Now, the one that are under the informal are what? The pressure group, political parties, and trade unions. Do you understand?
Yes.
Good. So government in this context refers to the institution of a state because it is formed and established for the common good of the people who choose to come together and have a common destiny. Well, that's about that. Any question before I move to government as a field of study?
No.
Okay. Now, when we look at government as a field of study, what you and I are doing now is government as a field of study. It is a branch of human endeavor that studies agencies, institutions, and the forces that operate the state. Now, it is studied in government in post-primary. They do civic education in primary school. They do government in secondary school, senior secondary. They still do civic education, social studies in junior secondary school. Those are still government as a field of study. Now, let's say a question comes in this form. The basic concept of government comprises of the following, except. Now, you have government, you have field of study, you have as a state, you have as a political party, and then you have a process of governing. Which one do you think your answer should be? Should I
Sorry,
repeat the
ma'am.
question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. These are the basic concept of government, except perhaps it comes that way. The basic concept of government, except process of governing, institute of the state, field of study, political parties.
Political party.
Exactly, political parties. Now, because you've seen political parties in all of these things that we've talked about, does that mean it is part? Because I know you have to reduce your voice to say it because you're not sure of what you want to say. It's okay. So it's political parties because it's not part of the concept of, it's not the major part of the concept that we've just talked about. So you are right. You weren't out of place. So also the government as a field of study could also be studied in political economy, comparative government, public administration. They do it in different ways, as the case may be. They do it in different ways. Okay, so still not done. Now let's quickly look at the functions of government. Functions of government. As you are like this, what do you think the government should do? What do you, as in what do you feel? We're not talking about rights now, we're talking about the things that the government should do. Either they are being asked or they are not being asked. I know you can see the notes.
Yes,
Yes, I know. But then I want you to tell me something that you think, not what is in my notes.
okay.
Yes.
I'm trying to look if what I'm about to say is in the list, so
No, you don't worry about what's on the list. You just say something.
okay.
Uh-huh.
The government.
Okay, wait. Let's say you are in the government at the moment. You are part of the people that are making the laws. What do you think will be your first three priorities?
But let me spell the president. First three priorities.
What will be your first three main agenda?
Okay. If I'm in the government, I'll make sure the country is. I'll make sure the people in the country have these natural resources,
Okay.
and
Uh-huh.
I think to maintain the economic of the country,
Okay.
and I think that's it. I mean, I can't really think of it.
Okay. That's good. Now, looking at the state of the country at the moment, because most of the questions that might be asked, because I saw past questions, some of them are actually looking at the challenges of a particular country, some of their current affairs questions that they're asking under the government. Now, looking at the state of this country as it is right now, as a president, what do you think is the first thing that you're supposed to do? Or the special advisor to the president?
Since I say the economic of the country, because the way it is now, I think things to have maybe the dollar and all that.
Ah,
Yes,
so that the naira will not keep falling and dollar keeps rising,
yes,
right?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
I can see you like money. I was thinking you're going to talk about the insecurity in the country.
Okay. That was it.
Now, it's after the insecurity is being settled that is when people can even start thinking about, okay, what is rising and what is not rising.
Yes,
That's just Mhm. So a government is sufficient enough. Sorry, is a sufficient condition for peaceful and prosperous existence. The first function of every government is a peaceful environment for the state. Now, when I use the word the state, it means for the people that are living in it. So those functions of government can simply be outlined as follows. So defense, that is the first one is defense and security functions, regulations of social life, maintainers of unity in society, provisions of infrastructures, political, economic, and social functions, international relations. So to understand the basis for the foregoing functions, it is pertinent to
can
explain
you
this.
come again, ma'am? Sorry.
Okay. Now, the first thing I mentioned is the defense and security function.
The defense
That is
and
what
security.
I'm going to do, right? Yes, defense and security. That is looking at the kidnaps and the likes. I don't know where you stay. For those of us staying in Abuja right now, well, God be the glory. Some people stay with one eye closed. With one eye closed. And if somebody knocks on your door, if the person didn't call you that he or she is coming, you can't open your door because you don't know who's at the door. So that's the number one thing as a major function of every government. Now, regulation of social life. If you notice, in every bottle of a drink, which no one would say you shouldn't drink, but you will see 18 and above, right?
Yes,
It's a social life. But then, if you are not up to 18, it is believed that you can't handle some situation. They will also tell you, yes, they are selling the cigarettes. Smokers are liable to die young.
yeah.
Yes, so those are regulations of social life. You will hear some music will be released, government will ban them. There are institutions that are actually working. Can you remember any institutions that are working with the media? Do you know of any?
Sorry, myself.
I said an institution that works with entertainment, and the media. Those people that used to just ban songs anyhow, ban movie, ban all sorts. Do you know any institution that works with them? Okay, so pen that down so
I
that
think regulation.
yes, the
My
institution that regulates these people. Do you know?
I think regulation and social life.
No, no, no. Don't worry, go and find out. If your phone can multitask and you won't go off, you can as well ask Google. But then you can pen it down so that next week you will tell me. Let's move on. Then
Okay, I think I'll
maintenance
need a
of,
question. I want to.
you have a question?
No, ma, I want
Okay.
to, for the question you just asked me.
Okay, I said the institution or regulatory body in charge of the media and entertainment. Did you get that down?
No, institution of,
Institution or regulatory body,
okay,
institution or the regulatory body that works with the media, especially the broadcast media. Sorry, hold on. My time. Okay, so now let's quickly move on. Then we have maintenance of unity in society. Now, the issue of Yoruba, Hausa, the Igbo, trying everybody wanting to stay on their own is a major function of a government to actually keep in control, maintenance of unity in society. That's the third one, right?
yes, ma'am.
And the fourth one, provision of infrastructures, bad roads, schools, enhancing the facilities in schools, making sure our roads are good. Political parties, economic and social functions. That is making sure that our economy grows well when it comes to the financial issues. Same thing with the social functions. Then international relations,
Okay,
having affiliations with other countries for businesses to grow our economy and the rest of that.
okay.
So because our time is quite fast spent. So can you quickly explain briefly on what you understand by the concept of governance? Yeah, my time is up, close to up. Just briefly, tell me the basic concept that I explained, the three basic concepts of governance that I explained to you.
Okay. Hello, ma, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. Can you still hear me?
Hello.
If
I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you clearly. Oh, I didn't even know another person joined. Can you still hear me? We have just 3 more minutes.
Hello, ma. Oh, God.
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you, and I'm hearing you clearly. Wow.
Ma, if you can hear me, please, I can't hear you.
Check your chats.
Okay, ma.
So that means you can hear me. You just said,
So the
okay, ma.
thing is breaking, just breaking. I think
Oh, it's fluctuating.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. Well, our time is fast spent, so I would like you to just read up on the few things that we've talked about, listen to news these days, and then try and get the past question so that we can have we'll be treating the past question. Of course, I'll still share it with us. Yes, but then if you can get the past question, it will make it easier for us to work with next week, Tuesday. So did you hear that?
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So nice having you today.
All right.
Mr. Sunday?
All right.